Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for another episode. This time, we are chatting with lifestyle and competition coach with Team Be at My Best, and she's a posing coach and a mother who struggled to get weight off after her third pregnancy and knew she needed change in her life. She signed up for a bodybuilding show after that, and she had been inspired by her mom, who was also a bodybuilder, and decided nothing would stop her from transforming her body. And along the way, she developed a passion for empowering women to develop sustainable strategies to bring overall wellness, health, and happiness back into their lives. So Erika, Sherwood, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome. And I'm just so glad that you're here and that we're able to chat today, because I know we have a lot that I want to get into with you, and I'm sure that we'll get into together. So before we get into all that, I'd love to know, what is one thing you do or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
Well, the first thing that I normally do is pray. But I wouldn't say I'm always like praying. I know most people will say they're obviously saying a prayer to God and hoping that they look after them. But actually for me, my little angel is my dad. So the first thing I do is pray to him and ask him to please look over me, make sure I don't fall on stage. And I remember my routine. So that's the first thing I do. And then right before I go out, I close my eyes and I just think that all of those judges that are in front of me are actually my husband. As funny as that is. And the reason why is because I have never been a performer. I've never done dance or anything like this. So being on stage is completely new to me. And the best way I can do it is just pretend that they're all my husband and I'm kind of walking in with a strut. And I am, if there's a girl at the club and I see her talking to my husband, I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. This is what you're missing. And so I kind of walk out with that confidence, like, you better put your eyes on me, babe, because I'm coming out. And, that's just like my way of kind of feeling comfortable. And I normally just, again, think that they're him, and I find him normally, he sits very close to them. So I can normally just kind of gaze at him and I feel just kind of my comfort zone.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's so funny too, the way that you described it. Strutting out like you don't know what you're missing. That's awesome.
I said, because that was my only way. When I first did it, it was just so unnatural. I just don't have that like bubbly, like sexy personality. And my first coach was like, okay, now, kind of walk out. And so I start walking out and she's like, okay, well, not like you're trying to beat me up. Like you're supposed to be sexy and relaxed. I'm like, yeah, I don't know that. Like, that's just not in my category. That was actually funny. That was one of the things that she had said to me. It was kind of like, you're walking in a club and you see some girl talking to your husband. And you're like, oh, wait, hey, you got to get your eyes back on me because this is the real deal, kind of thought process. And that's kind of how I've done it every time. And that's kind of what keeps me sane and looking at least halfway decent while doing my routine.
That is so awesome. When you first started describing it, I was like, if I saw someone talking to my boyfriend like that, like I would definitely put on a walk that looks like I'm gonna beat you up. Like I would not be looking all sexy for him. I'd be like, is he crazy? What does he think he's doing? I'm gonna beat all of you. I would not be like, let me be sexy right now. I'd be pissed. Or I'd even just leave. I would walk my own ass out the door like, I'm awesome for myself. But I love that. I think that that's actually a really fun way to think about like turning your sexy on.
Yeah, because it's like, and that's how I practice. I practice at home all the time with my kids, my husband, and whatever. And so they're normally like my audience. And that's just, I always think about my kids too. It's like, okay, think about my kids, like things that make me happy. So when I walk on stage, it's like a natural smile. It's not forced. It's like, I really am happy because I'm thinking about, like I'm joking obviously with about my husband, and then I'm thinking about my kids and my family. And that's honestly just the only way I get through that walk out on stage.
That's cool. And you really got into this sport after struggling to lose weight from your third pregnancy, right?
Yes. So I have three kids, and my youngest is 2. And he's pretty much the reason why I even got into this sport.
Wow.
With him, it was just like with my other 2, pretty quickly I just like lost the pregnancy weight, like almost immediately after, I would say. And then with my third son, I was struggling, and I was struggling more, obviously just losing the weight, but more than that, like I had lost my father pretty quickly and abruptly in 2016. And I just was having, and then right after I lost my dad, actually the day after his funeral, I found out I was pregnant with my third child.
Wow.
So like throughout my pregnancy with him, after my pregnancy with him, I just suffered a ton from depression and like having a hard time like coping that my dad is not going to meet him. So I think a lot of that had to do like too, with just like me trying to figure out my life and getting over depression, like trying to raise 3 kids and like still struggling with the loss of my dad. So that's kind of what started this whole bodybuilding thing. Just like I told my husband, I needed something. I needed to get my mind off of just depression, like feeling sorry for myself every day.
I can't imagine losing my dad. I know we all lose our parents or my mom, but those thoughts are so hard. And then when it actually happens, I just can't even imagine the pain that you must have been enduring. And then to also be pregnant on top of that and knowing, okay, well, now I'm bringing into this world another child, and I'm also grieving, and I'm not feeling happy myself. And that must have been tough.
Oh, it definitely was tough. And especially because like, I never actually talked about this, so it's crazy. I'm actually even going to mention it, but like the loss of my dad, it was a very like sudden for our family. He struggled terribly with mental illness. And so we lost him that way. And so it was just really hard for myself, my brother and sister and everyone to like cope with that. And then to like know that I was pregnant, like almost days after, I just felt like my dad was like, okay, I know I'm gone, but I'm leaving you with somebody.
Yeah.
Just to fill that void,
That's a really good way to look at it.
I mean, that was my only way to like try to comprehend what had just happened.
Of course. Yeah.
So I know, am I shocking you? I'm sure you weren't prepared for all this today, huh?
No, I appreciate that you're being so open. I definitely can relate. That's why I'm like, I know how it feels to a certain degree. I almost lost someone really, really close to me. I can't share the story because it's not mine in the sense of she doesn't want it to be known, but it was really tough to watch someone I love so much almost die by suicide, and that's not easy. And I don't know if that's exactly, the situation, but it is similar. And it's very tough, and to watch it or to witness it, or I have a friend whose dad went through something similar as well. And he went through a lot of the same emotions you're expressing to me about it being abrupt and very difficult to comprehend.
Yeah. I mean, we finally thought we were like over that hump, and then everything like was so great for the, a year or two. And we just thought like, we're kind of in the clear. And then all of a sudden, that's not what happened, like and sometimes like the people that suffer the most are the ones that are always like put on the act of, oh, everything's like laughed. And I mean, but
Exactly.
he was the joker of the party. I mean, I can't even explain my dad's personality besides that, you know, people gravitated towards him just because he was always laughing and having a great time. And that's just who he was, you know. And then he kind of just took a lot of the other stuff inside. And, you know, always, and if you know anybody that's suffering, I would just say to, you know, always reach out, make sure that they're, you know, how they're really feeling.
Yes.
Because sometimes what you think is what's happening is not really what's happening.
That's great advice and a great reminder as well. So, you also mentioned that your mom really, or we know that your mom really inspired a lot of what you did with bodybuilding. She was a competitor, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's kind of how this all happened. And it's funny. And it's actually even going back to my dad again, because he knew how bad my mom wanted to do this. And she already had 3 of us, and she always talked about trying to compete. And so one day he surprised her, and he had her a coach, everything like set up.
Wow.
That was it. Like, she was ready to go to start her bodybuilding journey. And yeah, I mean, and I watched my mom for when she did this, there wasn't like bikini and figure. I think it was like fitness and bodybuilding. So she competed in bodybuilding, and she was an all natural athlete. So she was going against them, and that obviously at that time, especially that era, were not, you know, especially in actual bodybuilding. And so she actually prepped for her first show for 12 months.
Wow.
We watched her as kids, like, just go through all of this. And, you know, I knew like how much she loved it. And I knew how much I loved watching her do it. I mean, we would literally, my dad he never got into bodybuilding, but he was really into working out when my mom was doing this as well. And so we would literally do like rock, paper, scissors and fight for who was going to go to the gym at 5 a.m. with my parents. Like, how crazy is that?
That's awesome.
I mean, like, and so we watched their journey. And I don't know if you are familiar with, it's called Stern's Gym. It's in San Diego. It's a like old school gym. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger worked out in this gym and trained there. Bill Pearl. And so it's downtown, or it's in North Park, San Diego. And like when you walk up the stairs, I mean, it is the epitome of bodybuilding. I mean, you just see, just bodybuilder posters, Arnold Schwarzenegger everywhere, all the way up the staircase. And once you get there, it's just like old machines. My mom's actually on the wall there, you know.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, it's anyways, if you're in San Diego and you want an old school experience, I'm telling you, Stern's Gym.
I was just
Shannon,
there.
really? Oh,
Not at the
yeah.
gym. I wish I was just in San Diego, but now I'm like, damn, I wish I had gone to Sturge Gym. That sounds awesome.
It's definitely just like an old school vibe. The owner, he's been there, since my parents started, probably since like 1994, I think. Shannon Brown, he was known as Sherman the Tank. It's just that vibe when you walk in, you know.
That's
it's just
cool.
And he had always inspired me as even a kid, you know. As soon as I turned 18, he's like, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it.
Oh.
So I knew like after my son was born, like that was it. Not after he was born, but like, you know, after when I was separating from that depression, and I couldn't get the baby weight off, I just told my husband, like, you know, I thought about doing this, that my mom did this, like, I know she loved it. And it's just like, that's a mental sport. Obviously, you know, you've been here. This is a mental sport, right? It's a complete mind shift to where I was. So I knew I just needed that. And so that's what I did. I literally told my husband on Thursday, I want to get a trainer and I want to look at coaches. Friday, I was already signed up.
That's awesome.
We were doing this. We were doing it. So yeah, she's inspired me my whole life. And besides my husband and my kids, that's my number one fan right there, my mom.
Oh, and so what was it like to be raised by a mom who competed? You said you enjoyed like going to the gym with her in the morning, you guys would fight over it, but like, Do you remember what it was like to have a mom who was working on building her body or changing her body, or did she eat differently? Did you guys eat differently? Like, what was it like?
Oh yeah, I mean, we joke about this now, or as adults, but like, yeah, I mean, not that many kids were eating rice cakes in the '90s, Um, so maybe more now than then. They didn't have flavors. But yeah, I mean, my mom, she always packed her food. I mean, and there were so many times when we were kids, like I do remember going, oh my gosh, like, of course mom has her food. Like, oh mom, like, and she was always tracking her water. So she would have her gallon and then extra water for us. Like no one touched her water because we already know she's tracking her water. But then at the same time, like, as kids, we would make jokes with my mom about this stuff. And sometimes maybe it would kind of be like, not irritating, but would be like, oh my gosh, my mom has her water again, or we have to do this because my mom has to do that. But then when we went to like jogathons, and my mom was so involved in all of, like, she worked full time and she still was so involved in all of our school activities. But no, especially then, moms did not look like my mom, did not look
Yeah,
like
I
my mom,
bet.
So, we wanted to bring her in for show and tell. We were like, so proud of her because we
That's
couldn't believe,
awesome.
it's like, look at my mom. My mom's muscles are bigger than your dad's muscles. My mom could beat up your dad. Just like we'd make jokes about it and all the time. And we really saw just how hard she worked. And we appreciated it. I can honestly say, even at that age, I appreciated how hard my mom worked to get where she was. And when her first show, she ended up in third place, and she wasn't like super thrilled with her placement. And I still remember myself, my brother and sisters, like, it's okay, mom. Like, you did so great. And we were so proud of her. We were in the stands. Like, I still remember being there cheering. I was 10 and like cheering for her, screaming her name. Like, just, we knew how hard she worked and we were just so proud of her. So, like for us, I think it just showed us that if you really want something, you gotta work for it. Nothing is handed out to you.
And you yourself also have 3 kids. You also have a full-time job. You're also maintaining a household. So I mean, you just mentioned that you have this mentality, like what really helped you to turn on that nothing can get in my way mindset?
To be honest, like, I have that mentality in almost anything I do, and I probably got that from my mom. Like, if I want it, even if it's a job, it was school. Like, I wanted straight A's, I was going to get straight A's. I wanted to get this job, I was going to get the job. Like, if I want it, I can do it. Like, I will get it done. And like managing my kids, I just knew, like, at the end of the day, though, even though I wanted this so bad, it's not like a job where obviously that's to provide for your family, right? So you're going to maybe miss a few things because you're preparing for an interview, or you're away because you have, work events, but it's for your job to provide for your family. Like, this is a hobby, right? I mean, this isn't paying my bills by any means. It's just a hobby. And before I even started that, I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but I knew, like, nothing was going to get in the way of my family. Like, my family is still my number one priority. Right. And I knew
Yeah.
that I had to have a plan in place to make this work, to have that nothing's going to get in the way of me wanting to do this, but not affect my family. Right. And
Yeah.
so no matter what, anybody that starts this sport in general, you have to have a support system, period. Like, you do, because for me, there's no way I could have been able to manage all of this, all my family, my job, and competing without a support system, without my husband, helping me and being there, and my kids. I mean, I can't even tell you, like, my daughter, she's 9, my son's 6, and then I obviously have a 2-year-old. But even my kids supporting me, like, okay, mom's got to get her run in today. Like, they know. And guess what? We're on family walks. We're all doing cardio together.
That's awesome.
Like, if we have practices, which I have, my kids are all playing sports. So we have football, we have soccer, competitive soccer. So, let's see, 7 out of the 7 days, 6 days, we have a sport. And I'm not even
Wow.
joking. Like, that's how crazy our schedule is with our kids. But like, if we have soccer practice, guess what I'm doing? I bought a jogger to put the baby in so I could literally jog around practice and do my cardio while my daughter is practicing, right? If there's a will, there's a way. It's just being able to
Yes.
figure out how to make it work.
And I love that. And at my event actually just last weekend, which was in San Diego, which is why I was there, we had when people hear this, by the way, the event would have been like nearly a month ago. So I just want to preface that. But we had a lot of moms in the room who expressed what competing has actually done for them as mothers, and as well as the struggles they face being moms and having a passion for the sport. So what are some ways that committing to this journey has positively impacted your role as a mother?
Well, number one, to be a good mother or a great mother, you have to be happy, period. I have to be personally happy to be a better mother to my children. And if you're depressed, if you're not happy with with where your life is or how you feel, what your body looks like, anything, you just have like a negative energy, right? I mean, no, even if you're not a mother, just in general, if you're not happy with your life, you have that negative energy.
Yep.
And by doing this, it has created happiness for me, which has made me a better mother because I'm happy. I'm fulfilling something for me as well as being a mom. And I think it's just like also having purpose. So, obviously being a mom I just don't I think a lot of people don't understand the toll that is put on you and the pressures, of being able to do all these things for them, breakfast, lunch, dinner, school pickups, lunch, PTAs, conference calls, whatever, everything about being a parent. There's a lot of stressors, right? But you have to find happiness outside of that and just actual individual happiness so that you can literally bring the best to your family. And because I found that center, I have been a happier person, which makes me a better mom.
Wow. I love that. That is awesome. So why would you encourage other moms out there to do it who might be on the fence about competing?
I mean, I honestly think, again, just going back if this is something that you feel that you really want to do, and I preface that because I think that is something that someone needs. If you're going to do this sport, you need to really think about it, because it is a lot of dedication. It's a lot. It's mental too. There are definitely days that I've had breakdowns. Like it's not all fairy dust and unicorns around here. But if you really want to do it, I promise you will feel better. You will be a better parent, even though you're sacrificing more. I feel like I'm up longer days because I'm training, I'm doing the kid stuff, I'm working, but at the end of the day, I'm still happy. Right. And again, that reflects on your kids. And not only that, it has shown, this has really shown my kids what it takes. They see me, even if I don't want to do cardio at 9, but we've been out all day, right? We've had soccer. We're coming from LA. We're doing this. We're doing family stuff. And then guess what? I walk in the door. It's 10:30 and I have not finished my cardio. I'm going to be on my bike. And my kids are, Mom, but you should, but I have to do it. I'm like, listen, guys, we had fun, but Mom needs to do this. And it's showing them you can go and have fun, but you still have to finish what you start, right? There's if you want to be the best at something, you're going to dedicate yourself to that. And I don't just push sports on my kids. That goes with school with them. They know, if they want to be good at it, they want to be the best at it, they have to dedicate themselves to that.
Absolutely. I think that that's something that I'm really grateful that my own parents instilled in me as well. like, do what you love, do what you want to do. But if you don't want to do it anymore and you already committed to doing it, you still need to finish what you started. And that helped me to commit to the things where even if I still wanted to do them, but I didn't maybe want to do them in that moment, I still did them. And I was always grateful and glad that I did. And I think that's helped me a lot in my discipline now, because when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Like I was giggling a little bit earlier when you're talking about, like, if I want straight A's, I'm getting straight A's. If I want a job, I'm getting a job. I've always had that mentality as well myself. And I think that that does reflect in other areas of your life. Specifically, I think it gets amplified and tested in this sport as well, which is really awesome. Now, I know a lot of people who are parents and they basically get concerned, or they express concerns about the time consumption of competing. So what have you personally
Mm-hmm.
done to manage your family time, especially when prepping?
Yeah, I mean, that is why I said support system, having a support system and planning is the most important thing if you're going to try to compete. And what I've done is I have arranged my schedule accordingly. So when I do, and it's so funny, like I would definitely say I'm not a strict mom, but my kids know, like, when they, there's certain things I expect. I expect them to get up. I expect them to do their, make their beds, come downstairs, dress and ready for school when they get up. Like, they need to do that before they come down. And when I'm in prep season, I set my alarm so that I'm up before that they're up, and I'm doing my cardio. And my bike is in the living room. Like, literally, it's parked in my living room. And I normally have like a spin class going on the TV. And when I'm off my kids know by the time I'm off my bike, they need to be completely done with all of their chores before school. And that's how I get my at least first portion of cardio done. And my kids are all, and like, I'm not there going, okay, are we going to do this? Are you going to do this? Like, no. Everyone, I always tell my kids, like, I want them to learn to be self-sufficient. And these are things that are just small things, but these are things that they need to learn to do, like get themselves dressed in the morning. My daughter's 9, my other son's 6. This has not to do with the baby, obviously, but the 2 that are going to school, and I set expectations, and I think that's a big thing too, is that my kids understand my goal. They know what my goal is and what I want to do. And so they know that they need to do their portion. And so I get almost all my cardio in first thing in the morning. My kids are ready to go. Get them breakfast. Boom. Now all I need to do is do my training. And I normally do my training once I put my kids to bed. My weight training.
That usually.
So I split my workouts, or I go to the gym at like 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning, get my weight training in, then come home and finish my cardio, so that when my kids are coming down, I'm already in the living room doing cardio and managing. And I know that sounds crazy, but I am. I'm like, okay, is your backpack done? Is this done? While I'm on my bicycle. And then it's even funny because my middle son, he will literally be so excited when I'm on my bike. And I'm not even joking. He will be watching the video with me, like the cycle video on TV, and he'll like, "Mom, you gotta go faster! They're going faster!
Aww.
Mom, come on, Mom, you can do it! You can do it!" Like, and they're cheering me on because, I guess that's just kind of the way that we've done things around here. It's like, I know what they want to do, like they have their goals, like, and we support them in their goals. Yeah. And then they know these are some of the things that, this is the thing that Mom wants to do, and they support me in my goals. Like, oh my gosh, when I say that my kids are like my biggest fan, I mean, I probably everyone in my daughter's elementary school knows that I'm a bodybuilder because she's like telling everybody.
That's I want to cry hearing that. Like, I genuinely feel moved by that. That is just so awesome. Like, it just sounds awesome.
Yeah, so we definitely, you need a system, and that's all there is to that. You need a system. But I definitely, I can honestly say almost the majority of my prep, maybe a few times during like the last few ends, like where I had extra cardio or something like that, I have never taken family time away. to like leave to do my workouts or anything. Like I have been able to be with my family the entire time. Even if that means like even at night we're watching a movie, guess where mom's bike is? In the living room while everyone's watching a movie. I'm still involved. We're watching the movie together, but I'm biking. Like having my own bike at home has just created a totally different environment for me, just so that I'm able to completely be involved for the most part. And my competing has not interfered with me spending time with my kids in any way.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So what do you do for work? Because you also work full time, right?
Yep, I do. I actually am the business development manager for a large health institution in San Diego. So I do all of like their business strategies when it comes to developing outside of their current geographic areas. So like anywhere outside of San Diego, it's like developing different hospitals and bringing different specialists up to certain areas that are in need, like different communities that might be needing like cardiothoracic or oncologists or, just different specialists, neurologists, neurosurgeons. I work with a lot with the CEOs of different hospitals that are outside of where our institution is, to try to build out and develop for the community.
That's
And
awesome.
bring other specialists there.
That's super cool. And of course you have your coaching too, but I want to go to when you were an athlete yourself, and you're still an athlete, but I'm talking about like soccer. Relating it back to, you said your kids play soccer too. So you actually
Oh
played
yeah.
collegiate soccer and you've done triathlon. So what about those sports helped you or maybe contributes to how you commit to your bodybuilding? Because you are committed, obviously.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm just a very competitive person, and our whole life, like that's just something. I mean, obviously with my mom and my great uncle also was a bodybuilder that I didn't even mention. So
So
this is just
cool.
something that's like our family has definitely done. But I mean, we've been very into sports. I mean, you name it, I've played it. Um, and that's why I joke about me being on high heels, strutting away. I mean, that's just not my thing. I'm slide tackling and, I'm going up for headers and getting into, big tackles, the dirtier, the better. I never did the cheerleading thing. So, that I think for me, I even actually, when I initially started playing soccer, I struggled. I was never like, I wanted to play on a club team and I had a hard time. Like the coach didn't believe in me. And I rode the bench. I cried to my mom and my mom's like, well, you got to work harder. You got to train harder. You got to do this. You got to do that. And then the next season I became the captain of the team and never came off the field, and it's even then it's just being able to show like, I just have that drive. And the more you say no to me, the harder I will push to show you that I am the best at it. Like I can be the best at it, or I will work towards being the best at it. And yeah, I mean, I did all the sports. I also pole vaulted, did track. And I think just having that mindset of just like, you just go. I mean, there's just a switch that you turn on and that's it. Like no one's going to get in my way when I turn that switch on.
That's awesome. And speaking of like sparkly bikinis and heels and all this, before we actually started recording, so to all the listeners, before we started recording, we kind of got on our own little our own little conversation.
Powwow.
Yes. About like the Olympia commentating and just how this sport it's evolved a lot, and so has perspectives, but unfortunately it didn't appear that way with the commentating. So I think it's just a good reminder that even though we come out looking sparkly and beautiful and amazing, like this sport and the look that they're requiring now requires so much dedication.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And, like you said, I mean, when I was watching Olympia, I was honestly appalled by the commentators and, just talking about us, looking like runway models, or, oh, she's crying and her makeup's running. And I mean, the time and dedication that these women have put into to be on that stage, it's more than just, being a Victoria's Secret model. And, and I'm not, not to discredit them, but when it's talking about being in the gym,
Yes.
I'm talking about being the gym time, the lifting weights. And, and the thing is that, obviously with Issa winning, she definitely has that mature muscle look of very, definitely more muscular than, some of the other Olympians in the past. And, it's definitely more going towards that route. And these women don't look like that because they went and did yoga in the morning and that's it. Like, you're lifting heavy weights. Like, you can't just decide nowadays to, be just a healthy woman and you look pretty good. You go to the beach, you do a little cardio, and then the next weekend you decide to jump in a muscle contest show or, an NPC show. That's not going to happen. Like, these women are dedicating so much time, 12, 16, 20 weeks to step on stage because they're building muscle. They're creating that lean physique. It's not just that, Victoria's Secret, like I said before, this is a bodybuilding look. They're that's what they're leaning towards. These women look like they lift weight, and they lift weight. They dedicate the time. They've done their cardio. They've done everything. And it's so frustrating that they would say things like that, because I guarantee you, if we came out there barefoot, walking out, no one would have been saying that about them. Right.
Right.
But because we come out in these sparkly with heels and sparkly bikinis, guess what? It's like, oh, well, look at these pretty girls. Like, oh, well, another little category. And, oh, look at her makeup. It's like, why are you talking so much about her eyeshadow? Yeah, her color of her suit and her eyeshadow. Like, are you kidding me? Look at her physique. Look what she's created. I mean, this amazing physique, which is completely being discredited. And that was disturbing, to be honest, especially after listening to them commentate on the men and how great how much work these bodybuilders are putting into it, which I understand they are putting tons of time into this, and they're, moving to other countries to train. And I get that, but don't discredit bikini just because we didn't walk out with bare feet and doing pose downs like that.
And
we're still bringing.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, just because you and me and all of bikini are seeking credit doesn't mean we're discrediting any of the other divisions. It just means that
absolutely not.
We need to be treated with respect and acknowledged for the work that we're putting in. Like, it's no joke. None of us just wake up and decide like, okay, yeah, like today I think I'm going to go ahead and sign up for a show next week. Like, it doesn't work like that anymore. People just can't do that unless you just competed. And it takes a lot of work. And even now, like, girls who, like, it's become really competitive. And then the girls who do compete, like, they're fighting even just to get on that national stage. They're fighting just to get their pro card. So imagine when it's an actual pro on the Olympia stage, like the amount of dedication that's gone into that, or a pro heading into any sort of show. Like, they don't just walk up there like, okay, well, I'm a pro now, so I can just like not even try. Like, there's a different standard.
Absolutely. And the thing is like you said, I'm not just crediting any single one of those Olympians. Every single person up there has worked so hard. Sweat and tears have gone into that prep. And over the years of being able to get onto that stage, and exactly what you said, just don't discredit bikini just because that's the smallest division.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, though, we're working just as hard. And I hope that people really understand that are looking into this sport for the first time. Like, if you're just looking into the sport and you're listening to the commentators, you're kind of like, you don't have as much respect for bikini just listening to them, because they're not showing us that respect, and the time and dedication, like we've talked about, that's going into this for everybody, every single division, the figures, the bodybuilders, physique men, everybody.
Yeah, and the perception was what really sparked this for us to discuss it, because we were talking about your look, and I'll get into that soon.
Yes.
But what I think is that you brought up was like when people listen and if they just heard that, that can make them think, well, bikini's not as dedicated, bikini's not as strong, bikini's not as blah 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 blah, not as this, or too little of this, or never enough. It continually perpetuates this never enoughness that we seem to
Yeah.
already perpetuate for many of our own selves anyways, which is just so sad. And a big reason why I'm trying so hard to really change this industry for the mindset aspects, but I digress. Something that, is sad is that a lot of women struggle to have husband support or family support or friend support, boyfriend,
Yeah.
girlfriends, whatever, and they struggle because the perceptions. And so we need to really change that. And I think by, us talking like this and more people putting out their journey and like the actual work it takes to get there, I think that can help people to see like, okay, this does go beyond sparkles and makeup and heels.
Right. And I think honestly, a lot of the reasons why some women don't do as well in this sport is because they don't have that support system. It's because they have someone in their, like I was saying before, it's all about the mindset, right? You have to be lifted up. You have to feel happy to get up and do this every single day. And if you don't have someone backing you up and you don't have friends who are like, oh, why are you doing this? Oh, you're on prep again. Oh, you can't have this. Oh, you can't have that. Then it's just like, it makes it harder and harder and harder because
Right.
you're not surrounded, you're not surrounded by supporters. And I think that's a huge reason why some women struggle within, or just not even just women, just athletes in general. Because I've talked to other men, physique men too, the same thing. They're in relationships, like they're not happy, their spouse isn't happy because they're spending so much time at the gym, or this is a very selfish sport, period. It is selfish. Everything is about that person competing. Like, I got to eat it this time. I got to do this. I got to do it this time. I got to do this. I got to do it at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're with someone that doesn't understand that or not able to try to cope with that, it is going to be a rough road.
Yes, and then even just taking from what you said earlier, as a competitor, how can you influence the lives of the people around you positively? How can you be proactive and making sure that you aren't sacrificing family time as often as maybe you would if you didn't take them into consideration? So not only being a competitor and looking out for having a support system that gets it, what that means for you and respects that decision and those choices that go with it, but also being a competitor who's considerate of the people who are supporting of your journey and being willing to make changes for them as well, even if it means, a slight change of plans for you.
That was so well said. And I could not agree
Thank
more. And
you.
that is, that's 100%. And I think that's also the same thing, like you said, why sometimes it doesn't work. And how people ask me all the time, like, how do I do it? Because just like you said, at the end of the day, as much as I wanted this, my kids, my family still comes first, right? So if I have to adjust my plans, which I've totally done before, because it doesn't fit within our family structure, then that's what I have to do.
Exactly.
I'm not just like me. And because I know though, like I said before, like this is just a hobby. And as much as I love to win and do my best in everything, at the end of the day, I always have to remember what the most important thing to me is. And I don't want to lose that. I never want my kids or my husband to feel that I don't put them first. Well, my mom's always just we're going to the gym. Oh, my mom's never around because she's doing cardio, or my mom's doing this. Like, I never want my kids to feel like that. And if they ever do, I'm done with it. Because like I said before, like, again, I feel like a broken record, but that as soon as that happens, then what is your why anymore?
Exactly.
Right? Because then you're not happy. Then now because now if your family's not happy, guess what? You're not happy.
That's powerful. That's important to consider. Like, don't get so caught up in the action of like bodybuilding and doing this because of XYZ that you forget what that XYZ is. Like, I'm doing this for my kids, and then you never spend time for your kids or with your kids.
Exactly. And then they're like, hey, mom, where are you at? And that happens a lot. And it's because too, you get so caught up. You do. I have been there, and I know I almost quit because of that.
What happened?
It was after Chicago, and I was just like, I was devastated. I was just completely beside myself. And, I just felt like, and I know better. This is a subjective sport, period. I'm so used to playing and being a part of definitive sports where it's like, if I lift this much, it equals this. If I score this many points, I know this is what the score is. Like, this is completely subjective. I have zero control. It's a gamble every single time I walk on that stage. And it's just about remembering that. And after Chicago, I was just completely like, I was in a funk. And my husband was just like, why are you doing this? Because I'm not happy. I wasn't happy. I was just like, I'm just going through the motions. I'm going through the motions, but I look like a miserable person going through prep.
Wow.
And my husband's like, honestly, babe, why are you doing this? Are you just doing this to show everybody? Like, you could be a mom, you have 3 kids, and it's okay. Like, even though you're muscular, you're still, because I kept getting, well, you're old, you're older, you're too muscular. I had a lot of people tell me all these different reasons why I was not going to turn pro. Right. Mm-hmm. And the more I kept hearing that, the more I was like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you. Right. And so the reason my why started disappearing, instead, it was just being ran by all of these negativities, right? All of these reasons I'm going to show these people why, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not happy. I'm just continuing to turn the wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we sat and we talked, and, to remember, like, it's not about what these people have said. This isn't why I'm doing this. Because I really do love this. And I have to find that place again. I have to find that place of, I love this sport. And I have to, like, getting over the subjective part, like sitting down, talking to the judges, like, okay, like, what happened?
Yes. And what did you learn from that?
Well, you mean like what did I learn from the judges, or just in general? Oh, from the judges, I mean, when I went to Chicago, like I said, I mean, like, for me, and I know most people, like, I feel even stupid saying that, like, I ended up taking 9th place in Chicago, and I was just like completely heartbroken. I, like, right away, I mean, I literally was hunting Sandy down, that I got an appointment with her just because I was like, oh no, we are going to figure out what happened. And I was just like, I need to have a heart to heart with you. Yeah. And I did. And I just, like, I poured it all out there. I'm like, listen, I'm a mom of 3 kids. Like, as much as I love this, I can't keep, like, I want to know, like, do I belong on this stage? Mm-hmm. Like, I keep getting the same comment, and that is just like, you are too hard. You are too muscular. Come down, come down, come down. And I have kept coming down. And to the point where it's the national show before, it was like, your shoulders are not big enough. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like going back and forth. And, and actually in that conversation, it was like, I learned a lot from her. She actually said, like, to give it one more shot to go to NPC Universe, and if I did not get my pro card there, to come back as a masters athlete. Like, there was no point of really me continue to compete in the open, because I just do have that very, very hard look. And as soft as I try to get, I just still look too big.
Mm.
And so I almost did not even go to, even though the reason why I went to Chicago was just to like do kind of a run through before getting to Universe. I always wanted to get to Universe because I've always said, oh, they're all hard. Like, that's going to be my show, babe. I would tell my husband, like, that's my show. I know it is. And she told me that too. Like, you just go and hope that you're standing next to masters women as well. And that's exactly what happened to me.
Wow.
You know, but I needed that push from my husband. I needed that push from my coach, was like, don't give up. Remember why we started this. You do have what it takes. You know, and every time, like, I don't know who's going to show up that day. Are the girls going to look hard? Are they going to look soft? I don't know. I just got to know when I get on that stage, I know I brought my best, period.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I did. And I normally, even it's going back to that, like, even when I normally do my routine, I would get so nervous, and I'm just like, as fast as I could get through my routine, I'm like, whoo, I'm out of here. Okay, I did it. At least I got it done. And when I went to Universe, I already knew, like, my mind was set. That was my last show. And I would come back in 2020 as masters. So when I walked on that stage that day, I was like, I took my time. I walked out like, this is my day. You better look at this, because this is the last time you're going to see me this year. You know, like, there I am again. I brought a totally different feel. And I swear, like, the judges see that. They feel that. They see the energy. And I was just like, yes. Like, my first pose, I hit that, and I was like, boom, I felt good. You know, and at that time, I didn't even care about where I was going to end up. I was just like, I'm giving it my all. And that's what I can do. I'm happy with that.
And that definitely paid off for you.
Yeah, it really did. I was so, you know, and I was even taken back. Like, I had no idea that I was in the center. I really did not. I had no idea until, I swear to you, I'm not even making this up. I was just like listening to Tyler telling us where to go. And then when they said, okay, ladies, see you in the night show, my coach jumps up, Shane. Oh my gosh. I'm visualizing this right now, because it was just like the best day ever. That's not true. Like, 4th, 5th best day ever, because my kids and my wedding comes first. But okay, so one of my top days ever. He jumps up and screams and puts his hands up in the air, and he goes, yes, Erika, we did it. And I step up, like, I step forward, and I look both ways, and oh my God, I'm in the middle. Oh my gosh. I'm literally in the middle. I couldn't even believe it.
So you're still on stage when he did this?
Yes. Oh yeah. Like, when they say, okay, see you tonight, ladies. And then we go to walk off. And as I'm walking off at prejudging, Shane jumps up and just is like, yes, Erika. Like, because I mean, at that point, I'm in the center. So I'm like, I'm either going to be first or second. So in the NPC Universe, it's first and second place normally takes that pro card. So we were pretty confident I was in that placing, that first and second place. So, and then I step forward, and I look forward, and look back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really am it. I couldn't believe it. I like completely lost it. I was like bawling before I even got all the way off stage. You know, searching for my husband frantically.
And was he like, oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was like, I don't know who's going to cry more, him looking at me crying or me crying, because I couldn't even believe, like, it was like this. I dreamt about this happening. I've dreamt about this happening so many times. Like, it's happening. Yeah. It was amazing. And then, obviously my mom couldn't be there. So I was like calling my mom. Well, my mom was watching live. My husband, was streaming it live the whole time. So
awesome.
my mom got to see everything live, and she was actually home watching my kids for me. But Yeah. So she like obviously couldn't even believe it. She was so excited. And then there's my mom and then my husband and then actually, my posing coach, Candace,
Mm-hmm.
I can't even tell you, we have become like amazing friends, since meeting her, God, like I guess in 2017 or
Wow.
no, 2018 is when I met her because that's when I started. And 2018, we've become so close. And she was the one, and that I was like, okay, like this is the day. I called her before. She's like my lifeline. I'm having a nervous breakdown. I'm like, okay, I need you to calm me down. Oh my God, I'm about to go on stage. Like do my posing routine a few times. And she told me before I even went on stage, like, this is your day. I'm telling you, you look like a pro. This is it. This is it for you. And
Mm.
I was like, you really think so? She's like, I'm telling you, I got the feels. I got the feels. I'm like, okay, let's pray. I can't like, and that's again, support system. Like anytime
Right.
I'm having like the times where you're like, why am I doing this? I want to, quit prep. I'm still eating, chicken and broccoli for the 100th day in a row. You have those other people that you can talk to about and like, okay, one more day down, just one more day down, to help you remember that why. So I'm super,
Yeah.
super, super grateful.
I've always wondered when you're on that national stage and you realize you're splitting center or you're in the center, and at that point you pretty much know that you're likely going to be awarded a pro card. Does that ever take away from the moment, or did it take away from the moment when they actually announced you as a pro, or did that further solidify the emotions you were having?
It's actually funny. Yeah. Like, when you see it, I think it kind of did take away like me being in center at that prejudging, like all my emotions came out right then. Like
Yeah,
when they actually called my name for first place, I was just like, I was still excited, but it was not the same emotion. I was like, I was
right.
still very, obviously very, very excited. And, especially taking first, like not, like I'm taking first in it, like I couldn't even believe it. That was only my second first place win.
That's awesome.
So it's like, this is actually happening. I've never even won an overall or anything. So yeah, I mean, I think just like, yeah, there's so much more emotion going into that prejudging because, I mean, we all know as competitors, like where, where you stand. Very, very few times do they like award way out, like rejudge or something like that, where I thought maybe I wouldn't take it. And even at that point, like even if I didn't even take my pro card, I was just beside myself that I was in the top 5. Like at that point, I didn't even care. I was just like, I made top 5 in the nation. Like that's where I'm at right now. So, I mean, obviously it was just, the topper to earn that pro card. It was just like the best, cherry on top. But I just was so, so grateful that I even was in that top category, period. So
Mhm. That's so awesome. I can imagine that moment must have been really rewarding for you, and you brought the look they were looking for. And I know that there are also a lot of people who have asked you about if you're natural, and they don't think that you're natural, and there's no way you're natural because you have a lot of muscle density. So what would you say to people to explain to them why you look the way you look, how you got all the muscle density and the muscle in general? Like, how do you explain that, or even I guess convince someone like, no, I actually did this on my own?
yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think there's such a huge misperception of this sport too, which is like, oh, you're NPC, oh, you're IFBB, oh, you automatically, like you're big, like especially me, quote unquote, I'm big for bikini, and automatically they think that I'm cycling on something, and they want to know what I'm cycling on, how long I've been cycling for, and no, I mean, before I might be new to this sport, relatively a year and a few months to earning my pro card. But I'm not new to being an athlete. I'm not new to lifting weights. I mean, did I ever bodybuild? Like I lift weights like that in a gym where I'm doing curls and things like that? No. But I've done tons of clean and jerks and push presses and deadlifts. And I mean, I CrossFitted for 5 years before I even decided to start bodybuilding. Just because, like I said before, I mean, I'm a competitive person. That's what I did after I had my daughter. I was looking for something else too. And I found CrossFit, and I was able to compete in CrossFit. Because I just love to compete. It doesn't matter what it is. I just love to win. I love to compete. I love being active. And I mean, when I first went to, one of my coaches, when I started looking into bodybuilding, I mean, right away, they're like, whoa, you're way too big for bikini. Like man obliques can't happen on stage. So we need to bring those down. And that was verbatim, man obliques. So, like,
How nice.
Yeah. And so like, I've had that, that's natural. And, just from years and years of doing this. And obviously too, I mean, I'm sorry, it's also genetic makeup. You look at my mom, she's got these big obliques and shoulders. I mean, we're built like that. I mean, you could see pictures of me like 10, 12 years old. I have abs. I mean, that's some of that is just genetic makeup.
Yes.
Some people can build muscle more than others. Like, and with Shane, I mean, I'm sorry, but he knows how to program. That is all there is to that. You are not, and I mean, that was one of my things when I went to Shane too. I said, I do not make me lift like I'm not supposed to be in the gym, because that's where I end up like lifting like, oh, you lift like 5 pounds. You're going to get too big. You're going to get too big. Like it just becomes boring to me. Like that's not challenging. And I would rather just move to figure than continue to lift 10 pounds in the gym, And I was like, when I got to Shane, absolutely not. We're going to failure. Like you are going to push. And I've gained so much muscle because I'm actually pushing my body. You're programming, you're programmed to build. And that's the thing too. And I think there are some teams that program bikini not as, maybe not lifting as heavy or more plyo stuff or things of that nature. And on Shane's team, that's not what we're getting. Like, so when you look at some of our teammates, like we're ripped. We're lean. We have a lot more muscle because we're lifting heavy. And that's what I love, and that's why I always hashtag, should I go figure, or like kind of laugh about it, because I love getting big. Like the leaner, the better, the bigger, the better. And so I've even played around with, possibly even doing figure, because I love that look. But I just know that's also more time to build and things of that nature. And now with bikini, with Issa too, having that more muscular look, I think it will also help those like myself that have that mature muscle when it comes to competing in bikini.
Yes.
To be able to stay there.
Exactly. And I love that you even just bring that up at all, that you've embraced the muscle. There are different approaches to creating a bikini look, a bikini physique, something that can even qualify as a pro, right? There's different types of programming. And I think I was just talking to someone recently about how Shane's girls always end up bringing like a harder look just because I don't know, they're like more muscular, leaner looking, like just harder. It's hard to even explain it, but most of Shane's girls, from what I can see, look that way. And I think that's why a lot of girls think his athletes aren't natural, because they just have that. And I don't remember who I was talking to on the show, but they were describing their programming. Maybe it wasn't even on the show. I honestly don't remember, but they were breaking down like their programming, and I believe Shane is their coach, and they were saying it's a lot more like compound movements and getting in the gym and lifting, like not doing like the kickbacks only and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I've gone Shane is, I mean, I'm newer to Shane, I guess. Well, now I've done like the 2 shows with him. I switched over last year, with Shane or I guess this year. So yeah, this year. And I mean, it was night and day, but when I started researching and talking to coaches, and I started talking to lots of different coaches, and ladies, for one thing, if you are not sure if you want to compete, or you're competing and you're not sure about your coach, or you want a new approach, or you're not happy with your placements, or whatever your situation is, you want something else, interview coaches, interview them. You are paying them.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember that.
You are hiring
Find
them.
out you are hiring them. Yes. Like
they don't need to interview you as much as you interview them.
Yes, exactly. Like, find out who's a good fit for you. You tell them what you want, and will they provide that? And when I went to Shane, I had a completely different approach than when I did the first time I was looking for a coach. I was like, no, this is what I want. Can you make this happen? Period. Like, I want this, I want this, I want this. I had a list.
What was on that list?
And I was, well, number 1 was programming, right? I wanted, and I'm like, and I don't want a, what did I say? I was like, and I want you to program like you were programming for a pro. That's what I said. I was like, I don't want baby programming. I said, I don't want to lift 5 pounds in the gym. And if you think that's where I need to be, then I need to move to figure. I said, I want, like, these are the shows I want to do. I told him the shows I want to do. Like, what did he think about those shows? I asked him also, like, we're looking at my pictures and how I'm describing myself and what my goals are. Like, do you think this is actually possible? Like, do you think is this goal realistic?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Don't BS me.
Oh yeah, 100%. Do not BS me. 100%. Like, is this going to happen? And then, of course, I'm not taking anything. That's what I said. I want to make this happen, and I don't want you to say you need to take this, or that.
And he said, no problem.
No problem. Nope. whatever you, and he is. Anytime I want something, well, what do you think? What do you think?
Oh.
And that's just even like with cardio. It's like, can you handle that? What do you think? I'm like, and then sometimes I get so, I'm like, no, tell me what, all I want to know is, all I'm going to say is yes. Like, for the most part, it's like, I'm the athlete. It's like, I trust you. And that's what I tell him. Like, I trust you. How are we looking? Am I on point or what? And he tells me right away, this, or, like, yes, we are on point, or no, we need to step it up. And I also say too, like, listen, when I step on stage, I'm stepping on stage to win. If you don't think I'm prepared to win, do not put me on stage. And that's what I said too. I said that from the beginning. I said, this is what I want out of my prep.
I'm so glad that you're even sharing all this, because I was just talking to some of the girls again from my event, and one of them, we were having a heart to heart. She was saying, like, what do you think I should do if I wasn't happy with my last prep? And I was like, you need to communicate with your coach or hire a new one and say, this is exactly what I want. And we had a discussion about how it's okay to ask your coach for what you need. And it's okay if your prep or your programming or the way you approach this doesn't look like everybody else. Like, you are allowed to ask for what you want and what you need, with the understanding that your expectation might be different. So for example, if you tell your coach what you did, which is, don't put me on that stage unless I'm ready, well, then you also have to be prepared for him to potentially say, hey, even though we were planning for this, you're not ready, because you asked him to do that. And
right.
That's where, okay, if you're going to ask for what you want, be prepared to change your own expectations, but also know it's okay to ask for what you want. Like, if you don't want to be on a super strict meal plan or super strict macros, or hitting the gym 6-7 days a week, just know that it might take longer to get there. And can you
and that oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was just mentioning, and that was another thing that was actually on my list, because I did not want, I specifically said, I will not cardio 7 days a week. I said, the most I will do is 6 days, because my body needs rest. I know my body will need rest. And I said, and I will only lift 5 days a week, because that's Monday through Friday. And then my weekends are for my kids. So when I get up, I can cardio in the morning or cardio at night or whatever. I have 1 day of just cardio if I need that 6th day of cardio. And then my 1 day is rest. So that's my family day. So my days off are on that weekend. So I know that I will have my time with my family. So, and I said that initially, like, this is how I want my programming.
I love that you're saying this and sharing this. Like, this is things that I don't think people know they can do. Like, I don't know that most girls will just be like, oh, I have to see what this coach says and then just go off of that. Like, no, you can set standards and expectations. And if you have a coach who's not copying and pasting a plan or not distributing it, they're going to be able to adjust, and they should remember what you asked of them. And if you've asked them of something and they haven't remembered it, or they're not actually doing it, and you have to consistently remind them, that's a red flag. And you need to either have the conversation again or find someone who you won't have to have that conversation with more than once.
And the second thing I want to bring up, and which I hear a lot, is like, if you are not comfortable with your meal plan, if you feel like it is unsafe, if you're feeling lightheaded, or if you're feeling your coach is taking you too far, you say something. Period. I said, I've had where it's like, oh, I'm going to keep bringing you down again. I'm going to bring you down again. And I'm like, no, I literally said no. This is as far as I'm going. And they're like, okay, that was it. But I'm like, no, I have to put my foot down. And if it takes me 20 weeks instead of 16 weeks, then that's what it's going to take me. But I'm not going to put my health at risk. And I think too is that I'm very, very thankful that I'm surrounded by a lot of physicians, right? So if I have questions, I'm able to be like, oh, hey, can I ask you this? Oh, what do you think about taking that? Or what do you think about this? Like, no, it is unsafe.
Yeah.
And I also want to touch base on this too, is because I do see a lot of very young women going into this, doing this sport and everything like that. And when you start messing with your hormones to the point where you're taking in 800 calories, you're doing 30 billion hours of cardio, and you're just continuing to just, go after your hormone system over and over, year after year after year, and maybe taking Clen and maybe taking certain things, that's your choice to make, but really think about the future. If you've never had children and you're taking all this stuff, there could be consequences at the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what does this sport mean to you? And honestly, I hear it from so many people. I mean, that's like one of the biggest things. Like, they stop and now they're trying to have a family, and they're struggling trying to have a family. And it's because they have put their body through so much. Now they're trying to re-regulate all their hormones, or, they've taken other things, and that could really just mess you up. And I mean, and it's the saddest stories. It's the saddest stories. And I can't stress that enough. I just can't. I mean, and I'm thankful I'm in a position where I already have 3 kids. I'm not planning on having another one by any means, but it makes me sad to see some young 22-year-old girl just, taking all kinds of stuff to do this sport. And I understand it's your dream and you want to do this as bad, but your dream in 5 years might be having a family. Mm-hmm. And the actions you're taking right now could affect that.
And also, it's sad when girls who are experiencing this end up blaming the sport for their issues, when oftentimes it was a combination of maybe their choices within the sport and also external help, right?
Right.
It's like, we can't say my hormones got messed up from the sport when you were pumping other things into your body that were not natural. So while this can happen to people who are natural as well, and it's unfortunate and it's sad, and it definitely, there's no joke. Like, this sport is no joke especially when it comes crunch time. Like, you can still impact, like my hormones were impacted as well, but I was prepping for so long. I didn't listen to my body. I didn't express what was going on, and that was on me. And now I've learned my lesson. I move forward, but I take responsibility, and I'm the only thing that's responsible for that. And there's other people who have other factors that contribute to this. So to anyone listening, you know, like some people will share that they're struggling so much in the sport ruined their life, but the actions they took within the sport could have been different. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned this because this is super random, but my kids' school just sent us this link, and it's talking about you're responsible for your actions, right? And it's all these different mirrors, right? And the kids have to look at themselves, and it's all these different actions, and it's like you're the person, it's the mirror, you're reflecting, look at yourself. Because at the end of the day, even if someone's peer pressuring you, like, oh, you need to take this, you need to, it's like, you're the one making that decision, yes or no.
Exactly.
And you can, sometimes I think too, you get fogged. You're like almost in a fog where it's like, you'll just do anything, you know, like,
yes.
what should, you know, because it just completely takes over you. You know, and I was like, absolutely, I'm not even going to take a fat burner, which thankfully I have not. But it's like, I got to the point where I even called my coach and I was like, okay, should I take a fat burner? Like, this is what I should do. You know, what do you think? And then, you know, I got some options and things. And then I looked at my husband and he looked at me and like, what am I doing? I said, like, I didn't want to do this. Like,
are you talking
I
about
made
fat
that
burners like over the counter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. Just over the counter. Sorry. Yes. Just over the counter, whatever fat burners. Just like caffeine. I don't even take caffeine. Like whatever my pre-workouts, like, you know, BeautyFit, that's all I take. But like, yeah, I don't, besides my own coffee, I don't take any caffeine pills. I don't take any other fat burners, none of that, because I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I wanted to really put myself in as much natural state as possible. And like, I was even like, oh, well, it's going to help me win. And it's like, and he's like, well, I mean, he's like, yeah, you can do it. He goes, but just like, if you do this, then what's the next thing? Right.
If you break one commitment to yourself, then it makes it easier to break other ones for sure.
Yep, exactly. And even though it's so small as that, you know, it's like, I mean, I'm sure I would take some type of flat burner. I don't know, but it's just like, it was just like, as small as that is, it was just like me thinking to myself, I specifically committed to not doing it.
And it's like the intention behind it too. Like the mindset was, this will help me win, not like I actually want to do this.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That 100%.
And that can change all of it. Like once you make that decision, then that decision was coming from a not so healthy mindset. So how will it help you?
Exactly. And that happens all the time. And when I had to like go back and like I said, thankfully I have a very open relationship with my husband where I had to like look at him like, what am I doing? Like I'm at the point, it's like, I mean, I want the win so bad that it's like, I'm willing to go back on what I said I wouldn't do.
Yeah, it's easy to get in that, exactly what you said, in that I'll do anything mindset. And obviously we have like our like standards that we set, like a lot of us, you know, never take drugs, so we don't really entertain that. But I know that there are moments where when I was competing from August 2017 all the way to September 2018, like I didn't stop, but I got on like this run of it where I was like, what could I achieve next, and what can I do next, and how far can I go next? And it was like, it didn't matter that I hadn't had my period in over 2 years. It didn't matter that I got sick at the end of one of my preps. And then it didn't matter that I hadn't taken a rest day in a while. It didn't matter to me. I was like, I'm in this. I might as well see how far, you know? And then I paid the price after my coach was like, you need to grow and you need to get your period back and you need to take time off. And then it hit me like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to take so much more time because I neglected to do that before. I neglected my body. And it's so crazy because I'm a person who preaches, you know, listen to your body, love your body, honor your body. And I was doing that for so long. And then when I just got in the thick of it with competing, I was like on autopilot mode, you know?
Right. And that happens. I mean, it happens to everybody I mean, most of the people, because everyone's competitive, right? You're not doing this sport if you're not a competitive person, period. You're not. right? And so that's why so many people get into that, though. It's just because it's like, it's getting, like if you're willing to take, get the edge to do it and win, and you're willing to take the risk, then do it. Like, and I'm not knocking anybody that's taking any of those things. I'm just saying is that I made a commitment to myself not to do that. But I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. I just know for me, it causes crazy heart palpitations. And sometimes I feel like I'm going to die because I have literally, I was like, oh my God, what happened to me?
Yep. That's me on caffeine too.
I'm like, I can't live in that state.
I talk like this so fast so that nobody can understand me. I just I'm so crazy on caffeine.
Yeah. So I mean, literally I had C4 and I thought my heart was going to fall out because I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm like, oh God, if I took a real fat burner, I can't even imagine what my body would be feeling like. Because I'm just so sensitive.
Yeah. I don't take fat burners with too high of caffeine.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I'm sure there's probably, I just don't know enough about it. And I just knew from the beginning, I wanted to do something that I wanted to try to do everything I could without any additional help. So that my body didn't get used to it, because I wanted to be able to just go back.
Which does happen. It's it can cause adrenal fatigue, or I should say worsen adrenal fatigue. Because if we're constantly pumping caffeine or other, I just forgot the word, it just escaped me. Maybe it'll come back to me, but if we're pumping all of this into us, I mean, natural stuff, regardless, if you're just coffee, caffeine, coffee, bangs, energy drinks, whatever, all the time, over time, your body's going to just constantly be used to that. And then it can stress out your body even more. When I cut out any caffeine, I cut out all my artificials, I cut out anything that I could control as an external stressor in my life. On my body expressed it back to me. I could feel a change, and it doesn't mean you have to say I'm never doing this ever again, but it's more okay, let me just take a break, let me take a step back, let me reset, because otherwise it's just a habit. It's just it doesn't serve a purpose as it once did,
Right. Well, and that's why the labels do say stop using after 4 weeks, because your body will become used to that. And then it's not going to work for you. The next time you prep, if you're taking fat burners on prep and off prep, then it's not going to help,
Yeah. I never get
your
that.
Your body just becomes used to that. That's the same with dieting. If you're maintaining a 1,200 calorie diet, where are you going to go when you're on prep? 800 calories?
Exactly.
You don't have a lot to give. So I think it's just kind of sticking with all that.
And be okay with going to those places. Be okay with going into an improvement season and going, okay, I'm going to have to get my calories up so I don't have to get them so low later. Be okay with that. The repercussion of that, the result of that means you're going to have more fat, but guess what? You're also going to have more energy. You're going to feel really good. And then when you go into your next prep, your body's going to be thank you. Someone who runs 10 miles a day, it becomes easy to run 10 miles a day. So your body just adapts, and we have to keep that in mind. And I wanted to also talk to you about just some other things in regard to sponsorships and things like that. I know you have been able to land some awesome sponsorships with companies that you really like. So can you kind of give listeners an idea of what it actually looks like to have a suit sponsor? Because I know for some companies and athletes, it's different than others. So what's it like for you? What's your experience like having a suit sponsor?
Oh my gosh, I love having a suit sponsor. But obviously with, it's Radiant Physique and it's Rachel, who I absolutely love. Obviously, she does everything herself, and it is just completely hand and custom made. Every little crystal. I mean, even actually in Chicago, when I spoke with the judges, they all comment on my suit. That it was one of the best suits. They remembered me, not for my number or anything, because of the suit. So for some reason, it really did stand out. And that is because I swear the quality is just amazing. And with Radiant Physique, I was on a crazy budget, and she just worked with me right from the beginning and was like, don't worry, we're going to get together. You don't need to hot glue your crystals on. Yes, ladies, I was hot gluing my own crystals on. Don't let any of that fool you. Because this sport is expensive, and I was trying to do anything to like kind of cut costs. And she's like, no, we're going to get you dialed up. And she did. And I think she believed in me. To be honest, I told her what I wanted, and, I'm going for nationals. I want that pro card. And I mean, she said, let's do it together, and, I won, obviously, and I won in NPC Universe in her suit. And right then and there, she said, that's it. Like, you're going to be my sponsored athlete. And I think we kind of just really bonded too, because she was helping me so much, create the suit, with videos back and forth, and, working with my budget, and just telling me, like, don't worry about it. We'll make it work. And, taking some of those stressors off. She has just been great. And not only has she made my suit for Universe, but she also has made my custom bikinis, which I've posted on Instagram, so you can see those as well. And I get so many compliments on them. I love them. They're all custom made. And we haven't discussed my pro debut, but I can tell you that most likely will be teal. And she already has a lot of great crystal combinations in mind of what she wants to do for me. So I mean, with her, I don't get any, with a sponsorship, just so you all know, like, I'm not raving about her because I get any type of kickback. I do not. I don't, like, there's not, a percentage that I get for anybody that gets referred to her. I'm just her sponsored athlete. And not only that, but I appreciate her so much. And I absolutely love her suit. And as I'm as long as I'm a competing bikini competitor, you will not see me on stage with anybody else's suit. As long as she's still in business. And any of the girls that I have that I pose with, or that I have any of my competitors, I refer to her because I trust her. She shows me pictures of my girls' suits, asks me my thoughts, and then she just dials them up perfectly. And not only that, but she's affordable. Like, that's awesome. Huge. That's a huge thing in this sport, is getting something that looks great and also fit your budget. So I'm super thankful for Rachel at Radiant Physique. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like it was just a natural fit for you guys. So you also recently got sponsored by Beauty Fit, and I know you also promote Squeeze Me Skinny, and I had a question about both of them. So the first one is about Beauty Fit, because I know Stephanie and Torka, and I believe Maya as well, they use this, and so I know a few girls who post about it. How did you find this brand that you really liked, and then how did that transpire?
Okay, yeah. Well, just to clarify, I'm not fully sponsored by them. I'm part of their team. I'm like an ambassador with Beauty Fit. But to be honest, I found them because one of my girlfriends I competed with in Miami was raving about the Beauty Bum, which is that cream that you put on to help tighten and everything. I'm sure you all know. So, I mean, I swear this girl's like die hard, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, I better try this stuff because she swears by it. And I just fell in love with it. Then I started looking at the products and seeing like, they're very natural, right? So any of the products that Jimmy has created, which is the CEO of Beauty Fit, pretty much could be used in any natural athlete. So you could compete in an all natural show, be tested, and can use all of his products.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's no stimulants or anything like that. And obviously that's something that I truly believe in, which obviously we already touched base on. And that's one of the reasons why I really gravitated towards their products. And not only that, but I had questions about products because obviously you've listened to me, you've seen how skeptical I am about like putting anything into my body. This is what happens when you're hanging around too many doctors. I asked him about certain products, about certain things. And I mean, God, he was so easy to talk to and reach out to. I DM'd him, I talked to him over the phone, and just about his products in the line, and how I think it's going to work for me, and how clean it is for my body. So, and that's kind of how I fell in love with Beauty Fit. And obviously their flavors are delicious as well, so that helps too. But again, there's no major stimulants, and I don't want to have to worry about taking any of that and, having any crazy heart palpitations or anything like that. I already got enough to worry about with my kids. So, yeah, that's kind of how I found Beauty Fit.
And then, and that's pretty awesome when you can find, like I said earlier, like just a company that you align with. So now, how would you address someone who doesn't believe in waist trainers or says they're dangerous? Like, how do you combat that? Or what if, because you said you talk to a lot of the people in your circle, a lot of the physicians. So what if they said, if you've asked them, why do you use it? How has it helped you? All that kind of stuff.
Okay, so a few things. For me, I can tell you hands down. Man obliques over here, right? That it has helped me. I'm in off season and I'm still averaging about 24 and a half waist. My first show, I went on stage with 27-inch waist.
Wait,
So
your waist is what right now?
24 and a half in off season.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay, and my first show, I was 27 inches.
On stage.
My waist was on stage, like stage, yeah. Like, and then when I'm close to stage lean, I'm about 23 inches, a little bit more than 23, just slightly. But I have seen a significant difference in just being able to kind of bring those obliques in by keeping everything tight. And also, I mean, besides just using the Squeeze Me Skinny, I always have my weight belt on, always. Because I do not want to engage my core at all. Like, I'm very core heavy for my physique. I have a big, heavy obliques. I got lots of, my abdomen. I'm very muscular in my, with my abs without working my abs. So I do everything I can to not, engage that core to keep my waist down. So, and then with the, in regards to it being unsafe, I do not wear the Squeeze Me Skinny all the time. You see me use it. I wear maybe 2 hours a day, and that's in the gym. And again, that's just to control my abdomen, to make sure everything's tight, the posture, my back, all of that. So
that's awesome.
So I'm not like trying to move my organs around. I don't wear it enough to where it's going to be moving my organs around. And going back to that, I mean, just think about when you have a child, guess where your organs are doing? They're being moved around. Yeah. So
that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, I don't really see that. Like I said, I don't wear it enough where, we're back in the 1800s and I'm wearing that corset all day. I'm wearing a corset all day long where you're going to have this tiny little waist. I mean, my grandma's a perfect example of that. She did wear a corset and she was a 19-inch waist. Well, I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the best thing for her.
Wow.
But she wore that all the time. She really wanted that hourglass look, And when you're not genetically blessed with it, guess what? You're, like these are the small little tricks I can try to do to kind of bring it down at least a little bit. But for stage, I because of my waist being so thick, I've grown my back. I mean, back days like twice a week. So it's all about growing that lat to make that waist look smaller.
That's awesome. And so now I would love to know, what is your best advice for girls who are thinking about competing but haven't competed yet? And then what is your best advice for the girls who are on their road to pro?
Okay, so I think we kind of covered a little bit of this. Like someone that is brand new to competing, I would definitely just make sure that Are you familiar with, like, have you ever been on a diet before? If you have been on a diet before or some type of meal plan, did you fail at that meal plan? Why did you fail at that meal plan? Also, do you have a support system? And financially, this is not a cheap sport. Make sure to look up how much everything costs, because I can tell you, as a new competitor, I had no idea. Like I said, it was like, oh, Thursday, I think I want to do this. Friday, I signed up. I had no idea the cost of everything. Mm-hmm. So really understand, I mean, the coaches, the suits, the shows, the NPC cards. I mean, God, the hotels. I mean, you drop $1,000 with a blink of an eye.
Yep.
So really understand, like, how much it goes into, or how much, how much it's going to cost up front before you jump into something and then realize you put so much into this and you can't afford to do it. I think that happens sometimes too. So, I mean, those were definitely some of the things I would do. And then obviously research a coach. Definitely research your coach. Find someone that's going to fit for you and fit your goals. And, have a good list of things that you want to ask them before you sign up. Don't just sign up with somebody because they have a big name. Like, make sure you talk to them, you interview, and you ask all the questions that you need. And then once you do it, just have fun.
Love
and
it.
Then I guess for the competitor that's already competing, right? Is that what the second question was?
Yeah, they want to go pro.
Okay, for someone that wants to go pro, my biggest thing that I always go back to is your reason why, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure you always know why you're doing it and that you're happy. Like, look at yourself in the mirror again, self-reflection. Are you happy? Is this what are you doing it for? Right? And then secondly is try to have fun. Because once you have fun, I know everyone will say this, every single pro that goes on, but I swear to gosh, it's true. Is like, once you just let everything go, and that's exactly what I did at Universe, and I was just like, I'm just going to be me. I just had fun. And I swear great things happen when you do that. And you just let it all go and stop worrying about what that girl looks like or that girl looks like, or who got second or first place at the last show. It doesn't matter. Just have fun.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that advice for both. That is awesome. And I do want to just add something. If you guys are looking for questions, if you don't know what to ask coaches, I did do a coaches week. And if you go on the website, the main blog for the podcast, it's celestial.fit/podcast, and you go to the category section, click on coaches week, scroll all the way down until it's like the introduction of coaches week. And I made a blog that specifically highlights every single question I asked them. I've received so much feedback on how helpful that's been. Girls who listened to those episodes and, picked a coach from them or learned what they should ask other people they were considering as coaches. So I would say if you want some, extra coach or questions to ask these coaches, or you need some insight for that, go ahead and look that up. Or you can always message me and I'll send it to you. Now, I will also add that if you are struggling with, the mindset behind a lot of this, if this is something where you're like, I'm not sure what my why is, if you've been unsure of how to connect with your goals on a deeper level, then I highly encourage you to sign up for my on-demand mindset coaching platform for competitors. If you haven't done so yet, there is a ton of information on this. There's actually a specific thing just on goals. And if you're unfamiliar with how it works, again, on the podcast page, there is a link that's going to show you exactly how you can get to that. And it's going to break down the tutorial on how to use that site. Basically, you'll just choose I'm on prep or I'm in my improvement season. And then what are you struggling with? Let's say it's goals. You would click on goals and then it says, I don't know my deeper reason for this, or I don't want to do this anymore and I'm not sure why, or blah, blah, blah. You will choose what resonates most with you. And then I take you through an exact training, a specific action step, a workshop on actually overcoming that or getting clarity on that. So if you haven't checked that out yet, definitely go do that. Again, that will be on the show notes page as always, celestial.fit/podcast, or you can just reach out to me directly on Instagram. So with all that being said, Erika, thank you so much for coming on. I would love for you to share with everyone where they could find and connect with you.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. And everybody, you can follow me or connect with me on Instagram. That's normally the easiest thing. And it's under IFBB_pro_Erika Sherwood. And that would be like the best way to DM me. If you have any questions or, anything, just give me a call.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to put all of that in the show notes page as well, just so that they can see that information and then you guys can connect with her even further. And to everyone listening, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode.